Welcome back to another episode of Cats Out the Bag. I'm Kat. I'm back for another episode in the Sobriety Series. Today I have the lovely Nicole here with me. For
Hey.
the for the people that don't know who you are, tell them a little about yourself.
Hi, I'm Nicole Tropiano. I am a content creator. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I'm currently in nursing school. I co-founded the largest moms group on Long Island, Mamas and Minis, Long Island. What up? Little shameless plug.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm an addict in recovery. I've been clean for, God willing, next week will be 12 years. Just, can I curse?
Yeah.
Just fucking crazy in the grand scheme of things. Um, and yeah, I'm just chilling. I'm me.
So this subject is a very, very near and dear subject to me. I'm both of my parents are alcoholics and they go on and off of the sobriety track. So I started this really for a safe place for people to come and tell their stories, whether they have 12 years or 2 days or
Yeah.
2 hours.
Yep.
Just because I feel like you only hear about it. You can only hear about their stories in a meeting, or like if you know people and you hear it like that way.
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of people talking about it in this kind of light because I'll go to some meetings and like the stories are so powerful, they'll knock you on your ass.
Yeah, for real. And like that's like my everyday, every week life. And I also think that we hear so much about the negativity, about the deaths, about addicts dying and the addicts who never gave themselves a chance and like tried recovery, or that like, oh, that damn addict, or everybody addiction touches everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody has an addict in their family or a friend who's an addict, and you never hear about the recovery stories for a few reasons. One, there's shame in being an addict, which is
Mm-hmm.
bullshit. Two, um, if you go to meetings, like one of the biggest things is anonymity.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, we're like bearing our souls in meetings, but that's like in a little church basement.
Right.
So I appreciate you giving me this platform and giving other people this platform to talk about like recovery.
Mm-hmm. It's so important. Like it's really like a crazy epidemic.
100%.
Um, and everybody goes through it. So to roll right into it, what is your history with addiction? Where did that start?
So I believe after like so much introspective work and being in a program regularly, constantly, consistently since I got clean 12 years ago. I'm going to say 11 years ago. I don't want to jinx my shit. Um, what was I
11 years
saying? Okay,
ago.
so introspective work. I swear I'm not high. Um, I realized that I was born with the disease of addiction. Um, One of my first ways that it manifested, one of my first addictions was food. I've been heavy my whole life, ever since being a kid. That it kind of manifested in fantasy. I used to read until 4 a.m. because I would just get stuck in the books, and then I would like fall asleep in class because I was in fantasy all night. Um, and then um, as it like goes with addicts, I kind of started using later in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really start drinking until I was 17, 18 because I was afraid of my mom.
Mm-hmm.
I swear to you, my mom saved my life because if I wasn't afraid of how strict she was, I would have started using much earlier and I would have died because I
Yeah.
would have gotten into more shit. So I started drinking, started smoking, became like that funny, cute stoner girl. Like it was like a way of life, like Sublime and all that bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Went to school, went away to school to Albany. Still drank, only drank and only smoked. Uh, and it was doing Adderall also.
Right.
You got to study.
Yeah.
Uh, and then I couldn't get my grades up because I was just drinking and smoking the whole time. So my parents brought me home. Got really into Concerta and Adderall. I was stealing my brother's Concerta. Um, and then just slowly I was working in restaurants. So like that whole industry is fucked with drugs and alcohol. And then eventually down the line I started doing like cocaine, here and there with my coworkers, doing a lot of like drinking and driving. We were like smoking marijuana was the love of my life. Um,
It is ironic.
it is
Now
so
I get
fucking
it.
ironic. Yeah. And now that it's legal, it fucks with me.
Right.
Because I was just talking to my sponsor yesterday. Um, Anyways, I'm not going to go into detail, but it fucks with
Right.
me. Even 11 years later, which shows me that I have the disease of addiction and that I'm not cured. A lot of people think that. So okay, so I need to say this preface. So I go to Narcotics Anonymous. I am by no means a representation of Narcotics Anonymous. I'm not the spokesperson. I'm not the president. So anything that I say is my experience in NA. And I need to say that because I very rarely talk about the program. I talk about recovery openly. I never talk about Narcotics Anonymous because of A, the anonymity,
Right.
and B, because if one day I'm acting like an asshole or I like lie or I manipulate something or I drive, like I whip my traverse like a dick sometimes, I don't want someone to say, like, Narcotics
What, to
Anonymous.
take a pill?
See,
Yeah.
see, NA doesn't work. See those fucking addicts. So that's why I don't talk about it. But like, this is the first time in 11 years that I'm being open about it, and I feel really good about it. So just know that NA is not me. I am just a member. I'm just a human. I'm just an addict that goes there.
Right.
I don't know what I would say.
You were smoking a lot. You
Smoking a
came
lot,
home from college.
cocaine, a lot of Adderall. Then I found Xanax. I was diagnosed with anxiety. I found this doctor who was like a pill factory. She prescribed me Xanax, like 0.25s. I didn't use it for like 6 months, and then I like my anxiety got bad, and so I started taking one, and I was like, "Yo,
This works.
this is heavenly." And then just as it fucking goes with addicts, if something makes us feel good, we need more of it. In NA, we say one is too many, 1,000 is never enough. And Xanax, along with weed and drinking, was just fucking, it hit. It hit really well. And then I was like one of my memories is we were at my best friend's house. We're having a house party. Her parents were away. And I remember taking like my whole bottle of Xanax and crushing it up on her bedroom, like dresser. And I was like, if anybody wants, like, I have Xanax up there. And we were all just going up, doing lines of Xanax. And then, like, other people were done. And I just kept going. Um, so Xanax, cocaine, Concerta, Adderall, weed, drinking. Um, and, like, when I first got clean and I went to NA, it was really hard for me. I kind of compared myself to others because I've never done heroin. I've
Hmm.
never done an oxy. No, that's a lie. I was when I couldn't find my Xanax, I was doing my mom's Vicodin. But like I didn't know where to buy oxys. I didn't know where to buy heroin. I didn't know. I've never smoked crack. And you hear of these people who live in cardboard boxes who like smoke crack and lose their families and their houses.
Hmm.
And there's another thing we say in NA. We say Yale or jail, Park Avenue to Park Bench. Like the disease of addiction doesn't discriminate.
Right.
Um, and for whatever it was, I say, like, by the grace of God, like my higher power, you find a higher power, NA. It's not religious, it's spiritual. So whatever you're thinking. And I thought so too, that it was really, yo, I'm Jewish. We
Hmm.
meet in church basements. I was like, am I allowed to be here? Am I gonna like go up in flames? Oh, the
Right.
Jew in the church. Like,
Yeah.
but I stayed.
10 slashings for you.
Like, do I need to fucking be baptized to be here? And not, it's just because rent in a church basement is cheap as shit.
Right.
So that's why we do it. So when I say God, I mean the universe. Like I love crystals, I meditate, like I hug trees. It's beautiful. So if I just say God, it's just a simple one syllable word, whatever.
Right.
Um, again, I don't know what I was saying. Sorry if you have to cut that.
It's okay.
But anyways,
Um, so what made you decide to get clean? What was your breaking point?
yeah. So like the crackheads in the cardboard boxes.
Mm-hmm.
I used to smoke weed like a crackhead. No shade to crackheads out there. Um, I still had a home. I was young. I was
Mm-hmm.
23 years old. I still lived at home. I still had a car. I still had a job. But emotionally and mentally and spiritually, I was fucked. I was bankrupt. And my parents said to me, I that summer before I got clean, I had like shuffled through a bunch of therapists. One gave me an AA list, and I remember just being so high. I was like, "What is this? Like, I'm not. I came to you because I have anxiety."
Right.
Another doctor told me, I was honest with her about smoking so much weed. She's like, "Well, you have anxiety, you
Mm-hmm.
smoke weed, and it comes down. You have anxiety, you smoke weed, and it comes down. If you stop smoking weed, you'll be able to manage your anxiety in other ways. You'll learn coping mechanisms." And I just wasn't there. And I'm like, this bitch is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So my parents said to me in August of 2012, you have 1 month to find a therapist and stick with it, or you're out of the house. And like that was the tough love they gave me. And I remember saying, like we were sitting in my living room, and I said, I think I have a problem. And as soon as the words came out of my mouth, I wanted to take them back, but I
Mhm.
couldn't. It's like once you know something, you can't not know it.
Mhm.
Um, and we went from there. I tried to get into a detox and a rehab. They told me that they didn't have a bed. Um, and they told me because of the amount of Xanax that I was doing, Xanax and alcohol mirror each other. Like if
Mhm.
you stop cold turkey, you could have really bad withdrawals. Xanax withdrawals can kill you. So they said, just maintain. They said, keep doing what you're doing until you can get a bed. And I'm like, yo, did these motherfuckers just tell me to keep getting high? Like, well, I'm not going there. They don't know what
Where
they're
did
doing.
you go to St. Charles?
No, I just made a phone call.
That's what they tell you there.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
But listen, I get it. Um, the system is fucked. It's
Mhm.
nobody's fault. They're doing the best that they can. Uh, so I ended up because I needed help then. Like I
Mhm.
was ready to go. It was like now or never. I was
Right.
like, get me somewhere. So I went to the emergency room in Huntington Hospital and I said what I had to say. I said I want to kill myself. Um, and they admitted me. They put me on like a 1-to-1 because I
Mhm.
was on like suicide watch. They took me to a medical floor to detox. My kidneys were fucked. Every time I think that like, oh, it was just marijuana, I tell my story and I'm like, yo, you were fucked up.
Yeah.
They put you on a medical detox, giving me all these supplements because my kidneys were so shot from pills and
Mhm.
drinking. And then I remember they walked me over to the psych ward. I stayed there for 12 days. I continued detoxing. Is it still going?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, can you cut things? You like splice it, right?
I don't.
Oh,
It's live.
which camera am I looking at?
That one.
Hey guys. Okay, cool. Um, they walked me over to the psych ward I stayed. They got my psych meds in check because I have depression and well now I have a slew of fucking mental illnesses.
Right.
But back then it was just depression and anxiety. And I just want to say something. Because of the amount of Xanax that I was on and how much I was drinking and smoking, time was blurred. Um, I would walk from my bedroom to my car and I couldn't find my keys. Xanax melts your fucking brain. And I remember one time I was waiting to get high. My dealer wouldn't meet up. I had no money, so I was waiting for a friend to get off work so we could like go halvesies on a bag. And I was sitting around the block in my car. I used to make up fights with my family so that I could just run out and like be like, I'm so anxious, I need to get out of here. I would say some vile shit to my parents or my brother and then run out of the house. I remember my mom running after me sometimes. And so it was one of those fights. I was sitting around the block, parked in my car, like up against the fence, like a sketchy motherfucker. And I wrote a note, like a suicide note. And then when I went into the hospital, I thought I was just like suicidal or I wanted to not wake up in the morning.
Right.
I didn't have a plan. I wasn't going to follow through. And I looked at the note on my phone and it was dated 103 days ago. Yo, I've been wanting to like die to end my life to not be in this ridiculous cycle of obsession and compulsion way longer than I thought it was 3 weeks, but because of the brain melting that Xanax does, it had been so long. So the psych ward was fantastic. I made friends. Like we had great food. The hospital food is good. And I had to have like a plan to go somewhere. I planned to go to an outpatient. I went to outpatient. I was there. It's like group or like talking. And the counselor said, have you ever been to a meeting? And I was in the fire department. So I'm like, yeah, I've been to a meeting. And they're like, cut the shit. Like, you need to be a
Right.
little, like, get humility. We're talking about a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. I'm like, no. And one of the girls from group took a meeting list out of her bag. They all put their phone numbers on it as we do at meetings. And I met them at a meeting that night and I never left. It it was a wrap.
And you were only 23.
23.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's hard for people to get sober that young.
100%, especially because it's just like it's fun and it's cool. Also, my best friend, whose house we were at with the pile of Xanax, the
Mhm.
Xanax mountain, I could still see it in my head, said to me, like, you need to get help or I'm done. Like, and when you get help, I'll be there.
Right.
And like, I still remember the second day that I was in the psych ward, she came and visited me. Like, she told me, if you get help, I'll be there. And I got help and she was there.
Are you still her friend?
Yeah, she's my best friend. I
Oh.
have a few best friends. Best friends are like a tier. for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like once you make it to best friend, I don't have just one best friend, but shout out Amanda, I love you so much.
You're gonna make me cry because
Yeah.
you're tearing up.
Oh
Okay.
please, I will cry. I'm a crier, so get ready.
Um, that's awesome. So how hard was it to? Because you didn't drink or anything your whole the rest of your 20s.
No,
Wow.
complete. So like for me, there's a difference between like abstinence and recovery.
Right.
So I have been completely fully abstinent, nothing. I've had a few surgeries, and I've taken pain medication.
Mm-hmm.
But like I've spoken in depth with my sponsors about them. I share about it at meetings, and um, when I did have the surgery, somebody else held the pills, and every 4 hours or however it was prescribed, they handed me one pill at a time. I made sure to take the pill and go right to bed. One time, I took the pill after a surgery, and I didn't go right to bed, and I started to feel a little loopy, and I was like, nope, 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 got to get the fuck in bed because I don't want to feel that like
The high
the high
up period.
and something could flip a switch for my obsession to start again. And I've
Right.
worked too fucking hard to give in to the obsession.
Right.
So, yeah. But otherwise, completely, fully, 100% abstinent from anything.
Wow, that's awesome.
Thank
How
you.
did you go about getting a sponsor? Like, have you been, and are you still at the same meeting that you were at?
No, so it's shuffled a bit because I've moved places. So
Mm-hmm.
in NA, we say to get a sponsor, get a home group, a place that you can call home, get a support group. A support group is just like a group of friends that can call you out on your shit that you can get completely honest with. Um, so I've had maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 home groups over the past 12 years. I've stayed at each of them for a few years. It's just like when I've moved and
Yeah.
they've all been women's groups. I believe that we say the women should stick with the women and the men should stick with the men. You're supposed to get a sponsor of the same gender or same like I've had friends who are like gay and they've felt more comfortable with dudes as their sponsor. You just need to like be
Yeah.
honest with yourself. If you're getting a guy sponsor, you need to say it's because you relate to them and they understand you, not because you're like trying to get in their pants.
Right.
Um, so that first night when I went to my first NA meeting, I got a sponsor because I had like seen on movies, like, movies put meetings in movies and like they
Mm-hmm.
have sponsors. And I'm like, well, I'm going to be the best fucking recovering addict. I'm going to get a sponsor. And I got a sponsor. Her name was Elizabeth. She was so tall. People called her Big Liz. She hated it though. And she saved my life straight up. She told me to meet her at a meeting the next night, and I did. Um, Elizabeth passed away. I'm gonna cry. I promised that I would always keep her memory alive. She died clean. She died with integrity. She died trying to spread the message to other addicts.
Mm-hmm.
And I love her very much. I'll never stop talking about her.
Oh,
And then I got other
hands.
sponsors. Hugs.
Yeah.
And then I've had other sponsors since. It's like sponsorship is not a marriage. It's a relationship, and like we grow. We're supposed to grow constantly. I feel like fucking humans are supposed to grow constantly.
Mm-hmm.
All right, hold on. The sponsor thing, just remind me. I say that I wish that everybody went to a 12-step program. Like, I'm so grateful that crippling addiction and drug use brought me to Narcotics Anonymous because we work steps, and all they really are is like questions that you ask yourself,
Right.
and you peel the onion and like a lotus coming through the mud and the
Right.
muck. So we're supposed to change, so why wouldn't we change sponsors? um yeah, and it's really just one addict helping another.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How do you go about like picking one though? So like, do they have to have a certain amount of years to be to be a sponsor?
So we do key tags in meetings. So it's like, does anybody have? So we say in Narcotics Anonymous, we have a colorful way of showing clean time, and it's like, does anybody want to just come up and get a hug? It's a white key tag. Does anybody have 30 days? Does anybody have 60 days, 90 days, 6 months, 9 months, a year, 18 months, and multiple years?
Right.
Those are the key tags. And then at the end, we say, everybody with a year or more clean time, please raise your hand. These are your potential sponsors. If you don't have one, get one, pick one. And it's not verbatim. It changes with every
Right.
meeting. Um, and so a sponsor should just have a year or more clean time. Theoretically, they're supposed to have worked the steps. We say someone with a working knowledge of the 12 and 12, 12 steps and 12 traditions. But like my first year, I had a few people ask me to sponsor them, and I couldn't because I didn't have a year, but I spoke with Elizabeth, and she said, as soon as we get through that fourth step, if you feel comfortable and I'll like check you out, then you can start sponsoring women. So it really is situational,
Right.
but for the most part, a year clean and has worked the steps.
Do you sponsor anyone?
Not right now, but there have been times where I'm sponsoring, like, I had sponsored 6 people at a time. That was a lot. I was single. I didn't have kids.
Right.
I wasn't in school, so I could answer the phone. I
Right.
could go and do step work. Right now in my recovery, I make my home group once a week. I talk to my sponsor and I talk to my support group friends in recovery.
Mm-hmm.
My life is full.
Yeah.
My life is full because of NA, because of recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing that some people say is like, we don't sit in church basements just to sit in church basements. But you got to be careful, right? Like, you can't co-sign somebody's bullshit and say like, well, my life is so full, I can't make meetings now. Like, no, 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 that's not what we said.
Mm-hmm.
Like we said, like, chill, make as many meetings as you can and live your life, but don't let the disease talk you out of the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous.
Right.
And in the beginning, we say make a 90 and 90 meetings in 90 days, because for me and for most people, like, I didn't know my ass from my elbow when I first got clean, and I needed routine, and I needed to be around people who understood me,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what the meetings were for. I made a meeting every day for 2 years until work really picked up and got really busy.
Right. So going through your 20s, and how old are you now?
35.
Okay. So going through your 20s and into your 30s, how was it like going out and doing things? Did you still do things, or you found like sober activities that you did instead?
So mostly like activities clean.
Mm-hmm.
For my first year, I wasn't really able to be around alcohol for me.
Mm-hmm.
So even family parties, I would come and say, hey, and then I'd dip, you know. After that, summer was really hard because I think I went back on your Instagram, and there was like a picture, and it's like, oh, feels like I'm about to get blacked out on a rooftop or some shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I would do. That was, that was cool.
Yeah.
And so I was like, fuck, like, it was triggering, you know? But after a while, after being super plugged into my recovery, I remembered and I realized that I love to dance. So I made some friends outside of the rooms and inside the rooms
Right.
that respected my recovery, who didn't drink either or would have one or two drinks. And like, with the advisement of my sponsor and sharing about it at meetings, I started to go out dancing. And I fucking loved it. Just dancing, getting wild on the dance floor at bars and clubs. Like, talking to my sponsor before, texting her during, talking to her
Mm-hmm.
after. And it was wonderful.
The other girl I've had on here, her name is Bree Free.
Yeah.
Um, she's like a tattoo model and like artist, and she is fully sober from Xanax and alcohol. And still goes to clubs, nightclubs, like in the city, in
Yeah.
New York City, with all of her girlfriends.
Yeah.
And people, she was like, I get probably like 100 messages a day saying, "Did you relapse or something?" Because she's dancing
Yeah. Yeah.
on the dance floor, but she's like, "No, I'm sober."
Yeah.
People will offer me drinks all night, and I'll just turn them down.
Yeah.
And I was like, "That's amazing."
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I'm by no means promoting that. I don't think that is for everybody.
Right. That's what she says too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
by any means. And that was just a phase. And
Mhm.
like, I stopped doing that just because it didn't get hairy, but I don't want to show this to my husband. My husband's like, I don't care what you did, when you did it, I don't want to talk about it. Even in recovery. I found myself, because I was single, wanting to go out and like make out with someone.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I need to reel it in.
It's the toxicness.
100%.
Yeah.
And if I go and make out with somebody, they have alcohol in their mouth, and I willingly, like, I know that they have alcohol in their mouth, now it's in my mouth. And like, yo, you can relapse on NyQuil.
Right.
I know somebody who's relapsed twice on NyQuil.
Mouthwash.
100%. It is the attitude behind it, right? Like, I haven't taken NyQuil in recovery because I take it on day 1, I'm sick, it helps me. Day 2, I'm sick, I take it. Day 3, I'm not really sick, but I take it, but I can't sleep now. Day 4, I'm not sick and I take it. What's my fucking intention? You know, it doesn't have to be crack or heroin to relapse. So after wanting to make out with dudes, I stopped going to the bars for a little bit. Yeah, and I remember at 90 Days Clean, I put my hand up at a meeting and I said, like, I don't know how to have fun clean. What do I do? And like other people pop their hands up around the same age and they're like, neither do we. So we're like, let's fucking go to Chili's.
Yeah.
And it was a thing. Like in recovery, you go out to eat. A lot of people gain weight.
Yeah.
I gained like 100 pounds in my first year. But I would take that any day over like the spiritual death of using drugs.
Right.
And I learned how to have fun in recovery because I really thought my life was over. I didn't know what NA was. I didn't know what recovery was. So I'm like, all right, fuck it. I am now being punished because I use drugs and I'm an addict and I get it. This sucks. And then it didn't suck.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love. Did you make a lot of friends?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. And like they come and they go. You know, I have shit to work on with friendships. I'll get close to someone and then like I freak out, but not knowing that I'm freaking out. And then I'll like pull away. It's really shitty. I've hurt a lot of people.
Yeah.
Um, but once you know, you can't not know, and you try and do better.
Right.
Yeah.
You can only, like you said, grow.
Yeah.
So you're sober now 11 years,
Yeah.
let's say. And you follow the program. And you said you go once a week religiously. Did
Yeah.
that change as you went along, or you always went that once a week?
No way. I don't recommend that to anybody. Like I said, we say make a 90 and 90 when you first get clean. Because it's about repetition. It's about listening. It's about like being willing to do whatever it takes to stay clean.
Mm-hmm.
And it just ebbed and flowed with life. Up until I'd say 6, 7 years clean, I made as many meetings as I could. It feels good.
Mm-hmm.
You go in, you share your shit. I used to say in early recovery, like, I felt like there was a vacuum in the window, and I would share, and I felt it like sucking all my anxiety away. Another thing, and I'm just going to throw this in there, a few months into recovery, I realized why I used because I had these looping thoughts that went on in my head constantly. When I first started getting high, I didn't realize that. It just felt good.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I stopped getting high and I got clean, I realized, like, that's why I used.
Right.
So I had to work on that. I had to find coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you deal with your anxiety now?
Oh, fuck, man. So since getting clean, because the brain changes, hormones change, neurotransmitters change, I have been diagnosed with a few more mental illnesses. So I have generalized anxiety disorder. I have clinical depression. Back in 2019, I was diagnosed with bipolar 2. So it's like I have hypomania.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go into a manic state where I need to be like medicated in a hospital, but it's still mania is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And I have obsessive compulsive disorder that I was diagnosed with postpartum.
Mm-hmm.
That hasn't gone away. That's a motherfucker. I've always worn my mental illnesses as like a badge of honor, trying to stop the stigma, always been honest on social media about it. And then I was diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder and I wasn't really open about it. I felt like, are you doing this for attention?
Right.
Like, are you just trying to collect mental illnesses? And then I went back to my psychiatrist over and over. She saved my life 3 times, literally, with helping me move around my medication. She's like, Nicole, you have obsessive compulsive disorder. Whether you share about it on social media or not, like, this is my profession. I'm not making it up and telling you.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to like give yourself grace and
you were
stop
obsessing
thinking,
over the obsessive compulsive disorder.
Man. Yeah, and I had postpartum anxiety, which it's all the same shit.
Right.
So like somebody who doesn't have anxiety and then feels it postpartum, it's postpartum anxiety. But for me, it was amped up with the OCD, and it stole my postpartum journey from me. It's supposed to be beautiful and bonding with your child, and it fucked me up.
Mm-hmm.
So how do I deal with my anxiety? How do I deal with all my mental illnesses? I had to fill my toolbox with coping mechanisms. So like grounding activities, meditation, going to meetings and sharing honestly. Like we say, what grows in the dark dies in the light of exposure. So the shit that I think deep down in my head, deep in my heart and my soul, the moment it comes out of my mouth, it lessens. We also say that pain shared is pain lessened.
Mm-hmm.
Joy shared is joy
shared.
biggened. Yeah. But it still fucks me up, anxiety.
Yeah.
You know, a year ago, for whatever reason, frozen. My hormones changed. My neurotransmitters changed. My meds stopped working, and I wanted to kill myself. I had 11 years clean. I had 10 years clean, about to be 11 years. I had a beautiful home. I had a beautiful car. I had a beautiful daughter, a beautiful, healthy relationship with my husband. And like addiction and mental illness doesn't give a fuck,
Mm-hmm.
right? And in recovery, we say like it's not about the material things. And like I remember going into my bed. I felt so touched out. I got mad at my husband and I sat on my bed and I said like everybody would be better off if I wasn't here. And because of all the work that I had put in, I knew that I had to tell on myself immediately.
Right.
And I went to my husband and I said, "There's a problem. It's just fucked up because you could have all this recovery in your life. You could have all this like beautiful stuff in your life and it doesn't matter."
Right. There's still always something.
Yeah. And I told on myself and I called my psych NP, Michelle Stalls. She's incredible. She's a Stony Brook. She saved my life. Um, and we switched around my meds. And I take all non-narcotic meds for my mental
Mm-hmm.
illnesses.
Because they do have like the non-addictive anxiety meds too, like visceral
Visceral.
and
So I
stuff.
took that in early recovery. Excuse me. But it was still mimicking the behavior
It
behind
zoned you out
Xanax.
a little bit, yeah.
And well, and not even it's like, oh, I'm feeling anxious, let me take something.
Right.
Oh, I'm feeling anxious, let me take I'm on something that's more like long lasting now, like a
Right.
mood stabilizer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah.
That's better though.
Yeah. For me.
How did you build yourself back up after a year after last year?
It was hard. My psych NP was begging me to go to therapy. I didn't want to. I was so resistant.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so back in 2016, my mom got really sick. Uh, we didn't know what was wrong with her. She was like slurring her speech. She like couldn't walk. I thought she was abusing her pain medication,
Mm-hmm.
which I got really angry at her for because I'm like, I'm in recovery. I'm living here with you. How could you? Um, it turns out there was something else going on. She went through like a slew of tests and she was diagnosed with ALS,
Mm.
Lou Gehrig's disease.
Yeah.
And she, from September 2019 to June 2019, ALS stripped her of everything. And in June 2016, she passed away. Um, what was the question?
I don't even
Me
remember.
either. All right, well, I'll tell you this story. Again, I swear I'm not high. Um, and I was there for her, and I was able to be there for her. And my mom died, and I didn't use.
Yeah.
And that was my one reservation. In NA, we talk about reservations.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you think is going to happen that would make you use? We need to get it on the table now so that we acknowledge it,
They know how
we
to, yeah.
attack it, and we dispel that shit. Um, and I said, if my mom dies, because she was one of the reasons I got into recovery, she was at the psych ward every day with me. She was bringing all my friends treats in the psych ward. They're like, oh, Mel's here.
Yeah.
Um, and I got clean for her. Eventually, I stayed clean for myself because we can only stay clean for ourselves. And she died. And I stood at her grave and I gave a eulogy and I was a woman of integrity, all because of recovery in NA. And then in 2019, my dad got diagnosed with cancer. He beat it for the most part, or I don't know if it wasn't remission. I don't know all the terminology.
Right.
And then in 2020, when everything shut down, he was supposed to go get scans. He was supposed to go to different appointments, and he didn't. And his cancer came back. It was metastatic. It was everywhere. And from August 2020 to October 2020, he suffered greatly. And then he passed away. I was supposed to get married on October 9th. And in September, a family friend came to me and said, Nikki, I don't think he's going to make it. We need to figure something out. And I was like, fuck, I couldn't see it because I was with him every day.
Mm-hmm.
So we moved my wedding up. In 10 days, I planned the wedding because we had to move the venue. We had to move everything. And he was there and he walked me down the aisle. He could barely walk. Can you hear me with this squeaky voice?
Yeah.
And a month later, he passed away. He passed
Mm,
away on October 5th, and my wedding was supposed to be October 9th, and I'm so grateful we changed it.
that's awesome.
He was my best friend. My mom was my best friend, but I get more upset about my dad passing because it's more recent.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when my mom passed, I had my dad there, but when my dad passed, it was just
And you more had like your wedding surrounding it too, so that's
me.
like
Yeah.
even more emotion.
Yeah.
That probably is like a trigger.
Yeah, and then a few months later we got pregnant, and then you do that whole thing with pregnancy and your parents not being there.
Right.
And like I wanted to go wedding dress shopping with my mom, but I couldn't. And I know, listen, people have it so much worse than me. People lose their parents when they're kids.
Right.
This is just my story and how it affects me. But in NA, going to meetings, I've heard the most horrendous things. People with decades clean, like going bankrupt, losing their homes, living in their cars, and
Mm-hmm.
not getting high. I've heard people losing children and not getting high. Like, I was told to listen from day one because I might hear something that could save my life in 10 years. So I heard people getting divorced, losing spouses getting clean. I wasn't in a relationship. I was 23 years old,
Right.
but I heard them go through it and get clean. Now I am married. Like, God forbid something happens, like, knock on all the wood. I know that I can get through anything clean. Like, there's no excuse to use,
Right.
you know?
Mm-hmm. And do you believe the thing like until you're ready, you won't get clean?
100%. We say that if everybody who needed NA found it, nobody would be getting high.
Right.
Um, I think that it's really hard. I've never had a family member that was an addict. I've always been on the other side, and I'm almost like I'm super grateful for that
Mm-hmm.
because it's hard to watch. I can't
Yeah.
imagine what my family went through watching me.
Mm-hmm.
But yo, like unless somebody's willing, nothing's gonna change. And now, okay, so there are different ways to get clean. In NA, we say clean, not sober. I just
Right.
got to put that out there. Because clean is like all encompassing. And in NA, the first step says we're powerless over our addiction. It's not like one. I'm not shitting on AA. Okay, I'm just saying.
We've had both on here so far.
Have you?
So
Okay,
like it
good.
is
So AA represent. I see you guys.
my first episode was NA also.
Was it okay?
And he was also such a good speaker, so it's so funny.
There's like a joke, like there's like a
Mm-hmm.
rivalry, and like people say like, well, they smoke pot in AA, and they say like there's a bunch of like crazy tattooed addicts in NA, and they're like fucking everybody, like fucking each other. So
Yeah.
it's like funny, and like I've never been to AA, so I don't know what's true. Maybe they've never been to NA, they don't know what's true, but whatever. Um, in NA, we say, the fuck was
In NA, we say
I gonna say? Say a lot of shit, so I'll just leave it at that.
that you could go through anything.
You can go through anything. Oh, people getting clean.
Yes.
We say if there's a breath in the body, there's hope. Um, but you got to be willing. You really do.
Mm-hmm.
And once everything is out of your system, you have a choice. You have a choice whether to stay clean or whether to use.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you think would be one thing that you would want to leave the people here with today? Like if they're going through something or if there's anything at all you want to tell them?
Can I look at the camera?
Yeah.
Hey, guys. I just want to let you know that no matter what you're going through, whether you're out there using, um, or you're suffering from mental illness, or nowadays my journey is a lot about like motherhood and postpartum. Uh, that I promise you, I swear to you, I know your head is telling you different, but I promise you it gets better. And no matter what, you're not alone. You may be physically alone. Um, you may be stuck in a room using. You may be stuck at home with a new baby, whether you have PPA or PPD or nothing, and you just can't navigate motherhood and postpartum. You have to find your support system. You have to. You need to take one moment of courage, pick up your phone, another moment of courage, Google where to go or what to find. Nowadays with social media, it's so beautiful. You can find your village, you can find your community, you can find anything with a quick Google search. And if you do that, if you take steps to get help to find your support system, it will get better. I promise you. I promise you, I've been there.
We're coming up on time.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for coming. I'm definitely going to have you back because we didn't even get to touch on any of our topics because we're just a couple of yappers.
I'll get a babysitter next time.
Thank you so much for coming and telling us your story. I'm going to start having group ones. So I'm going to mix all of you guys.
Oh, that's so like NA and NA and A can fight.
Dish it out.
I'm scrappy, so.
And but yeah, thank you so much for coming. Tell the people where to find you.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Yes,
Truly.
we didn't even really get to touch on your social media presence yet.
Oh, no worries.
But
So basically I share everything. My page started as a weight loss page. I had weight loss surgery. I lost an incredible amount of weight. And then I got pregnant. I was in nursing school, so it became lifestyle. So I'm a content creator. My handle is honestly Nick, N-I-C, _ goal. You can rewind that and get that. I changed to that because I'm on, like, my whole mission is to be completely honest and transparent. Like, I don't wear makeup often. I got a little something on today. Like, I'm on there in my bra and underwear, not like an OnlyFans way. Like, this is me, this is my body, this is my journey, this is my messy ass home. Because I see too many people being fucking liars on social media, and I refuse to be that person. So you can find me on Instagram. You can find me in person here locally. I run Mamas and Minis, Long Island, with one of my best friends, Lauren Zambelli Davis. And I'm out here.
I'm out here in these streets.
Yeah.
I just want to let you know, I don't know if this is what made you pop, but you did a video about chat rooms.
Chat rooms?
Like one of your million viewed videos is talking about ASL in the chat rooms.
Yeah.
My first experience in a chat room, I met a guy named Moonrocks, and I was like 12 years old, and I was in this chat room.
It was love.
And it was ASL, and it was the first time I saw a penis.
Let me tell you something. So this video, I'm so proud of it because I have imposter syndrome. So I like forget that I'm a content creator and I bring value to the world. This video I made in a fucking parking lot eating M&Ms. Another creator inspired me. She did something similar, so I put my spin on it, and it got 20 million views. So that's my claim to fame right there. But I was talking about, like, nowadays people are worried about 11 and 12-year-olds at Sephora and Ulta, like, getting their makeup. When I was 12, I was in a fucking chat room, like, saying I was, what's ASL? I was 22,
age, sex, location,
female, New York City, talking to 22 Brandon in Ohio. Like, we were fucked. Like, talk about trafficking. I'll come back and talk about that more. No,
no, like, thank God.
Yo,
I was saying, me and my friend Melissa were saying
everywhere.
We still talk about Moonrocks. Like, even if we're walking past a guy in the street and, like, he has, like, a gray imprint, I'm like, yo, that could be him.
Yo, you never know.
He was probably an old man.
Can I tell you something really quick? I'll end it with this. My mom found me chatting with dudes on AIM. And whatever, I went to babysit. My mom signed on to my AIM. My friend was like, listen, Nicole, I just want to let you know that I do not agree with you doing freaky shit with boys. But she was talking to my mom. I came home. The conversation was printed out. My mom said, get on that fucking computer and delete all your shit. And I had to delete it. I didn't have social media. Well, I didn't have it for like 5 years. I hid it in my computer. When my mom would go to sleep, I would go on AIM and I would do freaky shit with boys. And she had no idea. A few years later, I begged her and she let me get Facebook.
Wow. It was all different then.
That's me.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Kat, truly.
Our time is up.
Yeah.
Gotta get you there on time.
You gotta go get my baby.
Thank you for watching another episode of Cats Out the Bag. Tune in for another one next week.
Just come back.
Yeah, just come back.